Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of our cast we have for you in season 4. We are in Division 1 today, and we have Chicago versus Blinky in Iceland. Calamity, a very nice matchup. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, we've got kind of an interesting matchup here as we take a look at their stats. Chicago's probably having the season he expected. Blinky maybe not so much, Calamity.
Yeah, Blinky's so far still without a victory here. Kind of the expectations going into the season were that he would be right up there with the likes of Raidman and Boxer, and maybe some of the others that you would have expected there. So far he's been a bit unlucky. There was one round in the week one game which basically came down to just being, a bit unlucky. Then he had to face Orpheus, where Orpheus put in a fantastic performance. And overall, just not really his season so far, but it's still long. We've still not reached a halfway point here in Iceland. So it's definitely still possible for him to make his way into the top four. And yeah, for Chicago, as you said, probably expected to be somewhere fighting against relegation. He's been here before in the Division 1. He knows how it goes. Um, yeah, so far he's not doing a bad job at it. He's in a position where he'll at least be able to play the relegation playoff game and maybe keep himself in Division 1, unlike last time where he lost that against GC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are on the same record, but they are very different in position. That's mainly due to the fact that Blinky does have a perfect game and has gotten a few bonus points, while Chicago hasn't. That accounts for their difference in position. The map today is Iceland by topodic average score of around 13,000, over 1,000 locations, and about 300 plays. Yeah, covering the whole island, including that famous one that goes all the way around. But yeah, a pretty small map as well for a country, as countries go. That could prove to be a little bit interesting since that points drop off fast here, Calamity.
Yeah, I just realized I was kind of thinking about how the season's going and stuff like that, and just like a few hours ago realized how pinpoint heavy this season is. We've got
Mm,
Iceland here, we've got Botswana the week after that, and then we've got Saskatchewan and Singapore at the end, although Division 1 doesn't play Singapore anymore. But there's a lot of countries this season where it all can come down to pinpointing because your general location
mm,
isn't that difficult to find. But you've got a lot of long straight roads, you've got a lot of very, let's call them featureless maps,
mm,
or in the case of Saskatchewan, just featureless areas. Um, And yeah, Iceland is one of those, pretty much the start to it this season. And I think it's definitely a map where, especially for Division 1 players, especially for good Division 1 players, well, all Division 1 players are good, but you know what I mean. For Division 1 players who
mm,
practiced a bit
mm.
for Iceland, who know what they're doing here, it's very unlikely to get a perfect score, but at the same time, it's very unlikely to fall further behind than 100 points either. And we'll just see
Yeah,
how
so
it
we
goes
could
between those two.
yeah, we could definitely be looking at a draw here. Blinky does have quite the advantage in terms of aces. So, I mean, in a pinpoint heavy map, maybe he does have a slight edge, but you never know. Chicago is not no pushover at all for that. So let's see how they can do in Iceland as we get into round number one. And the one,
It could be.
probably. We've done enough of these Iceland casts by now that yeah, definitely could be.
Yeah, it's been so long that I actually don't really remember most of the rounds anymore. Um, this is one of those where I'm like,
Mm,
I don't know where this was. It's not, north or south on the one, and
there
it
we
is
go.
apparently the 35. Yeah, it does fit into that kind of region to the
Mm,
southwest.
yeah, so we're not on the one, but not too far off of it.
Yep.
As they both head kind of east into a little town here to help them pinpoint things out. They got a town name, they got distance, and both of them already hunting it down.
Mm-hmm.
Inns in very similar locations.
Should be a fairly easy round to get right with what we've seen, especially with that sound that Chicago now has found, the
Mm-hmm.
333.
Yeah, we've got a junction on top of everything else. And there we go. Looks like that's the F333.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of threes in this seed for sure. 30, 35, 333,
I
3
think
kilometers away.
I think he's a lot further south.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Blinky seems to, at least the moment, be trying to hunt down the curve. And with only 20 seconds left, clock is ticking to work on that pinpointing you mentioned, and he is a bit further south than Blinky has us at the moment, at least.
No, Blinky's further south than Chicago.
Oh, well.
There we
Probably
go.
when
Now
they're so far zoomed in there. Now they're in the same place, using that river. Down to under a minute. But both of them seem pretty satisfied with their location. Again, every meter might count, so
Yeah.
it's unfortunate, Calamity, that stream doesn't show up on the map, because that's
Yeah,
what
that
we
would
really
help.
want. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're both,
Come
I
on.
think, pretty much in the exact same spot here.
Yeah. So even if they are not exactly right, they will be equal. Unless one of them makes a sudden move. It is an ace for Blinky and an ace for Chicago as well. A meter separating them two after on that first round, Calamity.
Yeah, they were exactly in the right spot. Well, sort of 1 meter away from each other, but that's about as close as they'll get. And yeah, not surprising, they're a relatively easy round. I would have been a bit more interested what would have happened if they had gone different directions, maybe to the south, but looking at the map on Chicago's screen there, pretty much looks like the same thing. You're going to hit a major intersection soon anyway, so yeah, not surprising that we've got 2 aces here, although it wasn't the easiest round to pinpoint. But yeah, even if we hadn't gotten 2 aces, we would have been like a point or two off.
Yeah, exactly. Nice intersections either side of them, and I think Blinky actually went south a bit and did see a sign for what was up ahead. He didn't make it to the intersection, true, but he did see it. So he did double check his directions with that. So well done for them as we get into round number 2 here. And nice green, lovely little countryside here.
Both hitting the dead end immediately to the north. So that's another nice thing there. Mentioned this a few times in the past. If you have a dead end close by in one direction, you kind of want to hit that early, so at least you know there's no point in going back to the start. You'll learn nothing from doing so, and you're just going to be stuck there.
Yep. So luckily they both hit that. And there's a nice river running to the east of them as they will just see whose internet can load images faster in a race to find some information. Ooh.
Blinky got a bit lucky there. In the sense that he got teleported into the turnoff and Chicago managed to spot it while not being teleported into it. I'm pretty sure Blinky would have gone past it otherwise.
Yeah.
He was going a bit faster than Chicago because I certainly went past it. I didn't see it when I played that seed. But that, of course, makes the round fairly straightforward. It's still going to be annoying to pinpoint, of course, but you're not going to see a lot of points dropped here.
Yeah, the river on the side of the road is actually on the map this time. So they will use that. But again, it's a very featureless road, pretty straight, and they have to pinpoint that.
Yeah,
so there is a bit of a curve to the south they can try to look at.
Yeah, so they shouldn't be too far away, at least to the point where you're not going to lose more than 100 points. You still got probably an area of about 500-600 meters in which this location could be. You just gotta. Now it's always annoying because you can't quite tell, as you can see there on Blinky's screen with the dead end. You can't really tell where the curve to the north is. I mean, you can see the start of it, but it's always just a bit nicer if you can just go there and check for yourself. Because I've made an error in the past in, I think it was practicing for Botswana or some kind of map, where I assumed I saw a curve at the end of my vision, but I hit a dead end. And when in actuality, it wasn't even a curve. It was just like a dirt path going off the main road. And I couldn't see the road continuing because it was like just out of sight because the road was going uphill a little bit.
Yeah. And in fact, you called me crazy a little earlier, but this is an instance where the numbering is 1 and 92 at the same time.
I didn't call you crazy. I just said I hadn't seen it before.
Oh, now you have. How about that?
Yeah.
And yeah, it is a bit tricky to pinpoint. Blinky dropping 7 points here. 4,993 for him, 77 meters off. Chicago will use the last few seconds of his timer to do what he can. And yeah, he's just, I'm done.
Yep.
And he'll drop a few more points, 4,986 for him, but both of them still within 100-point range, Calamity.
Yeah, no perfect games anymore, but that wasn't really on the cards or on the table in Iceland to begin with. They're still close enough to each other, 7 points separating them. And Chicago can afford to lose 7 points every round from now. It's not going to change the end result much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a bit of a tricky start. 2 rounds, not the easiest to pinpoint as we get into round number 3. See if we can pinpoint this one. And yeah, at least we have a town name.
I may have
And
said in some of the previous matchup stats, some of the rounds may have been the easiest of the seeds of over all the divisions. Forget about all of those. That is the easiest round of all of the seeds.
Yep. Chicago definitely showing a little bit of practice, at least in Iceland. Knew exactly where that town was. Blinky does not. He's looking for it.
I think
But even
Blinky
with
just
only 3 minutes, he'll find it. There we go.
yeah, I think Blinky just missed the sign Chicago saw. I don't know how, but
I'm pretty sure he saw the town entrance sign, but maybe didn't quite
it
register as a town.
it was a different sign that he saw.
Oh, okay. So we
Yeah,
are
there's two signs there that Blinky just went past, and Chicago looked at one of them, and Blinky looked at the other.
I see. It has him just a little bit too far up the road. Chicago, on the other hand, has a nice intersection just to his north. He's going to be using to pinpoint, so
Yeah, Blinky's found it now as well.
there we go. Yeah, and already not even a minute 30 left. And they will be pretty much set. Chicago doing his due diligence, counting all those clicks, trying to make sure he knows exactly where he is.
It'll be like 4 clicks to the north and about 30 clicks to the south. So good luck.
Yep. 12 meters and an ace for Blinky. He won't bother with clicking. Good enough for him. And I think Chicago is just, he's up against a strong opponent. He's trying to survive in Division 1. Just use every second you can. And he will get an ace, 21 meters. So his pinpointing a little bit further off than Blinky's, even though it took him a little bit longer, but still gets the ace, keeps us in that tie range after 3 rounds. Yeah, Calamity, we've seen 2 very different Icelands so far. We've got middle of nowhere, dead end, and straight road, good luck, and then right next to an intersection with a town name.
Yeah, and this was a good good visualization of what I often say, where like all the time in the world doesn't get you any closer there. On Chicago's side, he went through all that trouble, like went north, went south, counted clicks, and in the end, he moved his pin like 3 or 4 meters further away than he had it initially. And it just doesn't help. Like you'll reach a point where you're about as close as you're gonna get.
Yep. Well, let's see how close they can get in this one as we get into the rain in round number 4. Still pretty close. Chicago at 14,986 and Blinky 14,993. And we're along the coast, it appears, on this one.
Chicago
and
just
again,
went
another big intersection.
Past the sign, I think, but maybe you'll look at it again once he goes back. But there's enough signs here.
Yeah, there's another one. He just seemed to zip right past. Don't know why.
Yeah, that's a bit curious. Because this time it was big on his screen right there.
Yeah, well, he's got this one at least, so he missed 2, got the 3rd. It's always a charm, as they say. And there we go, on the little peninsula way out here.
Yep, there you go. Chicago's pretty much there. Blinky now as well. Yep.
There we
Looks
go.
like just generally Chicago's always been a bit quicker But then just Blinky makes up for all of that in pinpointing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's quicker. He's quicker to the neighborhood, but Blinky's quicker on the pinpoint. So it's equaling out here
Mm-hmm.
in the first 3 rounds, at least. A little bit of a curve. Picking that road direction by looking straight down. Pretty standard. Blinky's gonna look like he's gonna eye this. There's that little road up there. Now he'll check.
Yeah, it's always a thing where, like, checking for the directionality of the road like this helps you as long as you're not on a straight road. Because at that point, like, yes, the road is the right direction, but it is the right direction on any point on this 500-meter long stretch of road.
Exactly. Yeah. It almost feels like after just 1 minute they had it, and they're trying to get out that last 10-20 meters, and it takes them another minute and a half. So yeah, Iceland, as you said, tricky to pinpoint. Blinky, not quite sure what he wants to do. They're not quite in the same spot. I believe Chicago's a bit closer to the curve.
Chicago's a bit further south. Blinky's a bit.
Yeah.
But it's a case of like 30, 40 meters.
In this case, it'll be 7 more points dropped for Chicago, 4,993, and 9 points dropped for Blinky, 4,991. So the gap gets even tighter with Chicago taking that round. And yeah, a pretty tricky one to pinpoint. Looks like a couple people managed to get it. But yeah, another straight long road. We're kind of going back and forth between these two types of Iceland here, Calamity.
Yeah, I could kind of see how Blinky was a bit too far north. I thought Chicago looked pretty much on, but turns out the location was between the two of them. And yeah, not a lot there. Chicago gains a couple of points that he lost earlier, but we're still pretty much just about even.
Yeah, and as we get into round number 5 here, Calamity, I think Chicago will be the one who's more happy with the tie.
Definitely.
He's a little, frustrated he hasn't gotten a win yet, despite having a very nice average score and already having a perfect game. Not often you hear that, a perfect game and no wins. Rough introduction for Reddit League for Blinky.
But I mean, at least with the current rules set, you don't necessarily need wins to at least be in a somewhat decent position to keep yourself in it. Because you can see there, like, Blinky still has quite a few points in a decent position in the table just because he's got a perfect game, just because he's got draws and bonus points for those draws. So even without wins, you can still stay in it. Of course, if you want to get top 4, you're going to need wins eventually. But yeah,
in the meantime, Chicago's got a very nice sign to help him out with what village he's by. Blinky's been zoomed in quite close for a while now. I'm not sure exactly where he's put his pin.
Blinky's just about in the right place, I think.
Okay. I think he was, but
this is a general area that was in quite a few of the other seeds as well, and it's just a very distinct region a very distinct piece of road in Iceland. It's still annoying to pinpoint, of course, but you should relatively easily be able to tell where you are.
Yeah, and again, a bit tricky. Blinky dropping 6 more points here, 4,994, but he hasn't dropped 100, which means he'll probably end up with a draw again, despite his best efforts. And Chicago has found the location, but he's, again, checking, using that time, wanting to just make sure he doesn't miss anything. And in this case, I don't know what he's looking for, coming back to the same sign again.
Yeah, just looking at how many curves there were. And now he's in a point where he should be pretty safe and secure with a draw here.
He's close enough. As long as he doesn't make a random click in the middle of nowhere, we're good.
Yep.
I have had it happen to me. It was horrible, and luckily it wasn't in Reddit League, where I'm trying to click the guess button, and for some reason I just miss and click too fast, and I'm clicking on the map. and then it moves my pin, and then I click the guess button, and I'm like, oh, well, that was nice.
I don't think I've ever had that happen to me.
It happens when I'm not really looking like where exactly I'm clicking. I'm just like, okay, yeah, we're here, and I have no time. Click on the button, and yeah, and an ace for Chicago. Very nice. So he will manage to pinpoint it 18 meters away. So again, even closer as we'll take a look at their final scores here. A draw for sure. 24. Too many screens to try to stop at once. Let's try that again. One at a time. 24-9-7-9 for Chicago, and 24-9-7-8. So a single point separating these two, and Chicago actually coming out with the win in quotation marks here. A bit of a surprise, Calamity. I mean, a draw, yes, but that Chicago would have been on the upper side of that draw. Maybe a bit of a shocker.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, with such fine margins, you could see how Blinky in some instances was like, oh, it's close enough, it'll be fine. And didn't spend too long on pinpointing. But yeah, you'll definitely be thankful at least that there is such a thing as the draw mechanic, where he didn't just lose a game because of 1 point in a country like Iceland.
Yeah, exactly. So thankfully this isn't a playoff match, and Chicago will probably take a little bit of personal pride, a little motivation to keep on fighting here after this one and getting a draw. But it's very tight, Calamity. I don't remember it. Was this good enough for bonus points for them? Because there's quite a few 24-9s in Iceland for sure.
Yeah, it was enough for bonus points, definitely.
Okay, very good. So then 2 points for both of them there, a point for the draw and a bonus point for that. So Blinky stays on top, at least in the standings against Chicago, but Chicago's still earning some points as we move along. Well, thank you all for joining us. If you like these videos, hit that subscribe and like button. Helps us out, and make sure that you don't miss any of the videos we have coming up for you. And yeah, as Calamity mentioned, we're in a really interesting country, quite different from this one, Botswana, next week. You'll definitely want to check that out, and we'll see you there. Take care.
Bye.